Welcome back, you beautiful catastrophe. Yes, you. The one they can't stop talking about when you're not in the room. The one whose name makes conversations pause mid-sentence. The one who walks in and suddenly everyone remembers they have somewhere else to be. You felt it, didn't you? That shift, that moment when you stopped being background noise and became the main event they're all trying to avoid. They won't look at you anymore. Not directly. Not the way they used to. Their eyes dart away like you're too bright to witness, too dangerous to acknowledge, too real for their manufactured little world. Let me tell you what's really happening here, what they'll never admit out loud. You've become something they don't have a manual for anymore. You're not the person they filed away in their mental database. You're not the safe bet they thought they could predict. Somewhere between the last time they dismissed you and today, you transformed into something that makes their survival instincts scream. And now they feel it. That cold recognition crawling up their spine when you enter a space. That primal knowing that says, danger, without using words. They're getting chills, literal physical reactions, because some part of them deeper than conscious thought recognizes what you've become. You want to know why they're avoiding eye contact now? Because eye contact requires courage, and courage is something they traded for comfort years ago. They can't meet your gaze because looking into your eyes means facing everything they're not. It means seeing their own reflection in someone who stopped playing small, stopped apologizing for existing, stopped dimming their intensity to make others feel adequate. Your eyes carry weight now, a gravity they're not equipped to handle. There's something behind them, something they saw for just a split second that shook their entire reality. They saw the truth. What truth, you ask? Oh, it's simple and terrifying all at once. They saw that you're not bound by their rules anymore. They saw that you've walked through fires they couldn't imagine surviving. They saw that pain didn't destroy you, it reconstructed you into something sharper, colder, more precise. They looked into your eyes, expecting to find the old you, the manageable you, the you they could manipulate or ignore. Instead, they found a stranger wearing your face. A stranger who knows too much. A stranger who sees through their performances. A stranger who stopped caring about their approval somewhere around the third betrayal. Here's what's happening on a level they can't articulate but definitely feel. You're radiating a frequency now that disrupts their comfort zones. Your presence has become a mirror, and mirrors are violent things to people living in illusions. When you walk into a room, you're not just occupying space, you're changing the atmospheric pressure. You're shifting energy fields. You're forcing everyone to either rise to match your intensity or reveal how small they've chosen to remain. And most people will choose to remain small and resent you for exposing that choice. They're not avoiding you because you did something wrong. They're avoiding you because you did something right. You stopped participating in the collective delusion. You stopped pretending their games matter. You stopped treating their opinions like currency. You withdrew your energy from their validation economy. And now they're bankrupt in ways they can't explain to themselves. So they cope the only way they know how, by creating distance, by whispering when you're not around, by convincing themselves that your transformation is somehow a threat, when really, it's just a reminder of their stagnation. Let's talk about that energy, that presence you carry now. It's not something you manufactured or performed. It's something you earned through suffering they'll never fully understand. Every betrayal you survived added another layer of armor. Every disappointment you processed added another degree to your temperature. Every moment you chose yourself over their comfort added another frequency to your signal. And now, you're broadcasting on a channel that only certain people can perceive, and it's making the unconscious ones deeply uncomfortable without them knowing why. You walk different now, did you notice? Not arrogant, not trying to prove anything, just different. Your footsteps have weight. Your movements have intention. There's no more apologetic shuffling, no more making yourself smaller to fit their expectations, no more dimming your light so they can shine. You move through space like you own the air you breathe, and that ownership, that self-possession, that's what's triggering their flight response. Because most people spend their entire lives renting their existence from others, seeking permission to take up space, and here you are, claiming territory without act. The eye contact thing, let's dig deeper into that. Eyes are portals, aren't they? Windows to something beyond the mask we all wear. And your eyes, they're not windows anymore. They're doorways. Doorways to a place they're terrified to enter. When they glance at you and quickly look away, they're not being rude. They're protecting themselves from what they might see if they look too long. They're afraid they'll see their own cowardice reflected back. They're afraid they'll see the truth about their choices, their compromises, their slow surrender to mediocrity. What's behind your eyes that scares them so much? Memory. Cold, clear memory. You remember who smiled in your face while sharpening knives for your back. You remember who promised loyalty and delivered abandonment. You remember who cheered for your failures and went silent at your success. You remember everything. And that remembering has turned into a weapon they can sense, but can't see. They know somewhere in their gut that you're not playing forgiveness games anymore. You're not handing out second chances like candy. You're not explaining yourself or defending your boundaries. You're just existing in your full truth. And that truth includes the receipts they hoped you'd forget. Here's what they're really afraid of. They're afraid you've become untouchable. They're afraid that none of their old tactics work anymore. The guilt trips bounce off you. The manipulation slides past you. The social pressure means nothing to you. They built their power on the ability to make people shrink, and you're not shrinking. You're expanding. And every time they try to put you back in the box they built for you, they find the box has been incinerated, and you're standing in the ashes, smiling. That smile, by the way, that's another thing that's unsettling them. You smile different now. It's not the eager, approval-seeking smile of someone trying to belong. It's not the nervous smile of someone afraid of conflict. It's something else entirely. It's the smile of someone who's seen the worst and survived it. The smile of someone who knows secrets others don't. The smile of someone who's made peace with their own darkness and learned to dance with it. That smile says, I know something you don't. And it drives them absolutely insane trying to figure out what. The chills they're getting, those aren't coincidental. Those are their bodies responding to something their minds can't process. You've activated their threat detection systems, but here's the twist. You're not actually threatening them. You're just refusing to play the role they assigned you. You're just living in alignment with your truth instead of their comfort. But to someone who's built their entire reality on control and predictability, authenticity looks like danger. Freedom looks like chaos. Self-possession looks like aggression. Well, they're getting chills because they're standing in the presence of someone who broke free. And freedom is contagious. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in their nervous systems when you walk in. First, there's recognition. Their brain identifies you as someone from their social environment. Then there's confusion. Something's different. The energy signature doesn't match their memory. Then comes dissonance. Their expectations clash with reality. You're supposed to be one thing, but you're presenting as something else. And finally, there's that cascade of cold running down their spine as their body whispers what their mind refuses to accept. This person is no longer controllable, predictable, or safe by their standards. You know what else they're picking up on? Your silence. Oh, that silence is deafening. You used to explain yourself, didn't you? You used to fill uncomfortable silences with words, trying to make everyone comfortable, trying to bridge gaps that others created. Not anymore. Now you let the silence stretch. You let it become heavy and thick and revealing. You let people squirm in it while you remain perfectly still, perfectly calm, perfectly unbothered. That silence is a power move they can't counter because it requires them to show their hand while you reveal nothing. They're watching you move through the world now with a level of self-certainty that makes them question everything about themselves. You're not asking for permission anymore. You're not checking to see if your choices are acceptable to the group. You're not molding yourself to fit their expectation. You're just being, fully and completely being. And that kind of authentic existence is so rare in their world of performances and pretenses that they don't know how to respond, so they don't respond. They just watch from the corners, getting their chills, avoiding your eyes and wondering what the hell happened to you. What happened to you? Oh, that's the beautiful part. You died. Not physically, but every other way that matters. The old you, the one they knew and could control, that version died. It died in the silence of unanswered texts. It died in the realization that loyalty was one-sided. It died in the moment you understood that their love came with conditions you could never meet. It died in the space between who you were and who you had to become to survive. And from that death, something else emerged. Something they have no reference point for. Something that makes them uncomfortable because it reminds them of their own unlived lives. You're not trying to make them uncomfortable. That's the irony. You're just existing in your truth, and their discomfort is a them problem, not a you problem. But they'll never admit that. They'll create narratives about how you've changed, how you're different now, how you're not the person they knew. And they'll be right about that last part. You're not the person they knew. You're the person they helped create through their betrayal, their abandonment, their casual cruelty. They're getting chills from their own reflection, and they're blaming you for holding up the mirror. The way they scatter when you enter a room, like roaches when the light flips on, that's not about you being negative or bringing bad energy. That's about them being unable to maintain their facades in your presence. You see, fake people need an audience of other fake people to feel validated. Your authenticity disrupts their performance. Your genuine existence makes their manufactured personas look cheap and obvious. So they scatter. Not because you're driving them away, but because staying in your presence requires them to be real. And being real is the scariest thing most people can imagine. They talk about you when you're not there. You know that, right? Oh, the conversations they have, trying to figure you out, trying to explain your transformation, trying to find a way to make sense of someone who stopped making sense according to their rules. They'll say you're cold now, detached, maybe even mean. They'll say you've lost your warmth, your kindness, your light. What they won't say is that you didn't lose anything. You reallocated your resources. You stopped giving warmth to people who used it to burn you. You stopped sharing kindness with those who mistook it for weakness. You stopped shining your light in spaces that only wanted to harvest it while giving nothing back. Here's what's really happening with that eye contact avoidance. They're afraid of what you'll see in them. Because you're not just looking at people anymore, you're reading them. You're decoding their micro-expressions, their tone shifts, their energy fluctuation. You've become fluent in the language of bullshit, and they know it. One look from you and their masks start cracking. One moment of sustained eye contact and you'll see through their performance to the insecurity underneath. And they can't have that. They need their illusions intact, so they look away. They break contact. They pretend to be suddenly fascinated by their phones or the floor or literally anything that isn't your penetrating gaze. The chills they're getting are recognition chills. It's their body recognizing something their ego refuses to acknowledge. You're the one who got away. You're the one who broke free from the matrix of their expectation. You're the one who looked at their world and said, "No thanks, I'll build my own." And that is absolutely terrifying to people who've never even considered that option. You're living proof that the cage they're comfortable in is optional. That the chains they wear can be broken. That the life they've settled for is a choice, not a destiny. You carry death with you now, but not literal death. You carry the death of illusions, the death of pretenses, the death of comfortable lies. When you walk into a room, people feel their carefully constructed false selves starting to dissolve. And that feels like dying to them. So yes, in a way, death is entering the room when you arrive. The death of their ability to maintain their masks, the death of their comfort zones, the death of their certainty about who they are and who they've convinced themselves you are. Let's talk about power for a moment. Real power, not the performative kind. Real power is silent. Real power is calm. Real power doesn't need to announce itself or prove itself or defend it. Real power just is. And you've stumbled into real power through the only path that leads there, total devastation followed by complete reconstruction. You were broken down to your foundation and then you rebuilt yourself without asking anyone's opinion about the architecture. That's power. That's the kind of power that makes people's skin crawl. Because it can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. They're avoiding eye contact. Because eye contact is a form of energetic exchange, and they don't want to exchange energy with you anymore. They might take something from you they're not ready to handle, like accountability or truth or a reflection they're not prepared to face. Or worse, you might take something from them, like their ability to lie to themselves, their comfort with their own stagnation, their excuses for why they can't change. Energy exchange with you has become high stakes, and they're playing it safe by playing distant. What's that thing you're carrying behind your eyes that they caught a glimpse of? It's sovereignty. It's self-ownership. It's the knowing that comes from walking through hell and choosing not to become the devil. It's the wisdom that emerges when you stop letting other people write your story. It's the strength that builds when you realize that approval from people who don't respect themselves is worthless currency. They saw all of that in one accidental moment of eye contact, and it shook them because sovereignty is contagious, and they're in the middle of a life they've surrendered to others' expectations. The room gets colder when you walk in, doesn't it? Not temperature-wise, but energy-wise. There's a shift, a contraction, a sudden awareness that something different is present. That's because you're not matching their frequency anymore. You're not vibrating at the level of small talk and fake laughs and comfortable lies. You're operating on a different bandwidth, one that most people can't even perceive clearly, but can definitely feel. And what they feel is dissonance. The uncomfortable recognition that they're in the presence of someone who's playing a completely different game. They thought they knew you, and that's what makes your transformation so unsettling. If you were a stranger, this intensity might be expected, acceptable, even attractive. But you're not a stranger. You're someone they categorized, filed away, thought they understood. And now you're smashing their categories, rewriting their files, refusing to be understood on their terms. That's a special kind of disturbing for the human ego. It means their perception can't be trusted. It means people can change in ways that make old knowledge obsolete. It means they might have to update their worldview, and most people would rather get chills than do that. You're not here to make them comfortable anymore, and that's showing in everything. The way you hold yourself, the way you speak or don't speak, the way you move through their social games without participating. You're present but not available. You're visible but not vulnerable. You're there but not really there in the way they need you to be. And that ambiguity, that refusal to be fully known or fully engaged, that's absolutely maddening to people who are used to reading others and predicting their moves. Here's the thing about becoming untouchable. It's not about building walls or shutting down your emotions. It's about building such a strong foundation of self that external chaos can't shake you. It's about processing your pain so thoroughly that it becomes wisdom instead of wounds. It's about knowing yourself so completely that other people's opinions become background noise. And that's what you've done. You've become centered in yourself in a way that makes you immune to their usual tactics. And immunity looks like arrogance to people who've never developed their own. The chills are them feeling the power differential shift. They used to have power over you through their opinions, their approval, their inclusion or exclusion. They had the power to make you feel small or uncertain or desperate for their acceptance. And now that power is gone, evaporated, transferred. Now you have a power they can't touch, the power of not caring what they think, the power of being okay with being misunderstood, the power of choosing solitude over soul-crushing company. That power shift creates a temperature drop they can physically feel. You know what else is happening? They're projecting. Everything they say about you, every judgment they make, every story they tell, it's all When they say you're cold, they mean they're uncomfortable with your boundaries.